more on this, let's bring in Senator Ted Cruz of Texas. His new book is entitled One Vote Away, How a Single Supreme Court Seat Can Change History. Senator Cruz, thank you for joining us this morning. And you heard Elon talking about the stimulus. What is the current state? Can you add anything that Elon didn't say that you know as far as where the talks stand right now?
Well, Elon is right that the president wants to make a deal. I spoke with him yesterday, and he's eager to make a deal. The problem is that Pelosi and Schumer don't want a deal. And I've been saying this for the last month or so, that it's clear Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer have made a political calculation that maximizing economic gain, they believe, helps them politically, that the more people who are alone and broke and unemployed and pissed off, the better it is for Joe Biden. So I don't believe Pelosi is going to agree to anything before the election. I think let's take, for example, airline layoffs. We've seen tens of thousands of airline layoffs. It would be a simple matter to act. You'd get overwhelming bipartisan consensus to stop those layoffs. But Pelosi and Schumer are blocking it. They don't want to stop those layoffs. And their reasoning is simple. Those tens of thousands of people that just got a pink slip, they believe will be angry when they go vote in November. And if they're angry, Pelosi and Schumer are gambling that they're going to say, throw the bums out, let's vote for Biden. That's unfortunately their negotiating position.
So it's all about electioneering in your view. And I've actually seen some of your comments about the election. And I was actually looking at the new Drudge, the Drudgington Post. Have you seen it? Mother Drudge, I call it. But I read what it said. It said that Ted Cruz is terrified about the election. And then I read what you actually said. And you said at this point, the president could win and both houses could win. We could lose the Senate and the president. You said all these different things, but that's obviously not the way that I saw it portrayed. But what do you think, Stan? I mean, the polls are bad. The betting sites are bad. They're 67-35 or something now for Biden. A lot of the swing states seem like they're double-digit differences with Vice President Biden ahead. Where do you think the election stands right now? Are you worried?
I am worried. What I said is that it's volatile, that it's highly volatile. To put it in market terms, the delta in this election is enormous. That I think there are outcomes, if people are going back to work, if they're optimistic, if they're positive about the future, we could see a fantastic election. The president getting reelected with a big margin, Republicans winning both houses of Congress. I think that is a real possibility. But I also think if on election day people are angry and they've given up hope and they're depressed, which is what Pelosi and Schumer want them to be, I think it could be a terrible election. I think we could lose the White House and both houses of Congress, that it could be a bloodbath of Watergate proportions. And I don't recall an election in my lifetime where the delta, the spread between those two was as dramatic as it is. And it makes this a very uncertain election.
Becky.
Senator, you do have more than 5 million people who have already voted, so you've got to throw the early voting as an additional factor, an unknown into this. Just a question for you. When you spoke with the president yesterday, were you talking to him because he was trying to find out if you would support a bigger bill, if he worked out something with the Democrats in the House, if that went to the Senate?
Well, he called me yesterday morning. I had called him a couple of days ago and spoken to him just to see how he was feeling. That was actually the principal reason of the first call, is when he got back to the White House from the hospital. And he said he was feeling much better and he sounded strong and energized. And then he called me again yesterday. And when we talked a bit, we talked about several things. We actually talked about the debate between Pence and Kamala Harris. And unsurprisingly, both of us agreed that Mike Pence did a very good job, and it was a good contrast on ideas. We talked some about the upcoming debate, and I told him I agreed with him that I thought the idea of a virtual debate with Biden was ridiculous. That was an idea stacked to really benefit Biden by letting him hide in his basement and not have any scrutiny. That a debate actually features the two people are supposed to be debating in the same room. And we talked about a deal. He made clear he was leaning in, saying he wants a deal. He wants to get it done. And I didn't argue with him on that. But as I said, I don't think Pelosi and Schumer are interested in dancing. I think he's a willing dance partner, but I don't think they have even the slightest interest in seeing anything pass between now and Election Day.
So he didn't put any pressure on you, or did he? Just the idea that he gets something done, he would like to see a deal done, and he wants it to get through the Senate too?
I mean, he expressed his views, but it was not a call. It was not a lobbying call. It was a call just to talk about what's. And he and I talk probably once a week, so that's not an uncommon discussion. Actually, he talked about. He congratulated me on my book. You know, the book, One Vote Away, on the Supreme Court, rose to become the #1 bestseller in the country on Amazon, and so he was congratulating me on that. It's been nice that people are interested in learning more about what's really going on at the Supreme Court and why those stakes matter so much. And the book tells a inside story of what's going on at the court from the perspective of having litigated many of the big landmark cases at the court. And so it's been selling really well. And I think people are interested in really understanding the institution and understanding the issues at the heart of the Judge Barrett confirmation.
All right. Senator, take your political hat off for a second. Given that we're a business network, I have a question. If President Trump were the president of a publicly traded company today, in the midst of a crisis, clearly that's the pandemic that we're living through, how would you measure the success or failure of that executive during this pandemic, including what's taken place over the past week and the hotbed of coronavirus that has happened inside the headquarters, if you will, of this company?
Well, I think in any crisis, there are going to be challenges and there are going to be things that hopefully are done well. I think in many respects, the administration's record has been quite strong. Now this has been a global disaster. It's been a pandemic that has cost lives across the planet. I think one of the strongest decisions the president made was a decision he made very early on January 31st, when he halted air travel into and out of China. I had previously called on him to do exactly that. And when he did it, it was very controversial. Joe Biden blasted it as hysterical and xenophobic. And then subsequently, when we saw the numbers spike in Europe and the president did a second ban on travel to and from Europe, that again wasn't an easy decision. He was criticized for that. I chaired a hearing in the Senate where CDC experts told us that those decisions saved lives in the United States and they slowed the spread of the virus. I also think the administration did a very good job on the supply chain for ventilators. You know, early on we were looking with horror, for example, at what played out in Italy, where you saw their socialized medicine system unable to keep up with the volume of people who were sick, and they ran out of ventilators. And the administration leaned in, used the Defense Production Act, which I had encouraged them to do. Right. And we did not run out of ventilators anywhere in the country. We had an adequate and a more than ample supply. Right. So those were good. Testing early on was not good. So I think if you look at in any crisis, there are always lessons to be learned. And I think there are lessons to be learned on both sides of this crisis.
Oh, I thought you wanted to follow up, Andrew. Because I heard you talking the entire time with Senator Cruz. You didn't have a follow up, Andrew?
I've heard him. He gave lots of pros. He gave one con. I imagine he could probably give some more cons, but we'll let you continue on.
What is how are you feeling, Senator? You're quarantined, are you not? Or
I am quarantined, so I am strong and healthy. I tested negative, so I'm not sick. I don't have the virus. Although I did spend some time with Mike Lee, my colleague and friend, who did get sick, and so the doctor advised that I quarantine. So I've been sitting here in my D.C. apartment all alone. Heidi and the girls are back in Texas, which has me thoroughly grumpy to have gone a couple of weeks without seeing my family. But these are the times in which we live, and so I wear. I guess you'd call it pandemic casual, which is a sports coat on the top and shorts and slippers on the bottom, which I'm not going to show you.
what are the probabilities that Amy Coney Barrett is confirmed before the election?
I think very high. I believe we have the votes. We're going to start the hearings next week. I fully expect Senate Democrats to do everything they can to try to turn it into a political circus. They were already incredibly energized, angry, filled with hatred for the president. That was before the Supreme Court vacancy. And once the Supreme Court vacancy happened, to borrow a line from Spinal Tap, I think now it goes to 11. I mean, they're just, they're beyond maximum anger. That being said, I don't think they have the votes to do anything to stop the confirmation. And I think the president made the right decision in selecting Judge Barrett. I think in nominating a strong, principled constitutionalist, the president was honoring the commitment that he made to the voters. And I think when the Republican Senate confirms Judge Barrett to the court, which I believe we will do by the end of the month before Election Day, I think the Republican majority will be honoring the promises that we made to the voters.
All right. Senator Cruz, thanks. Good luck with the book. I have a family member who's reading it that wants to figure out all about it. She could use it in an autographed copy. So I don't know. You know, if you have time, you're not doing anything. You're just sitting there in quarantine. But, you know.
I'd be happy to get it to you, Joe, and you can get the book, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere books are sold.
She's already has reading it on the Acela. So and now it's funny. She's a Supreme Court expert now. She's an expert. They're quick learners when they're 20. Anyway, thank you, Senator Cruz.
Thanks.
You'll see, Andrew. God, they know a lot.